Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look through Han Solo in vintage Star Wars action figures. So Kenner released 5 of these over the years, and we're going to have a look at all of those today. I've got my loose figures out as well as my 5 carded versions as well. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so the original Han Solo came out with this much smaller head. So the first sort of few releases, and this is certainly the one I had back in the day on my Palatoy card, was this what we call small head Han. And later on they did release the bigger head one. So I mean, mine's got a little bit of wear on the top of his hair there, which is super common for this figure. And he also never holds his gun. So you can see I've got a little bit of blue tack on my figure, because I always found that this gun here would never really hold. This hand would never hold the weapon very well. So it was, even without having him on a base, I always remember being particularly annoyed that he would never stand up very well. He was just one of those figures. There's not a lot to him, was there? I mean, I think this is a really good sculpt, and it does capture Harrison Ford as Han really well. It's just, it's perhaps not the most robust of figures. His legs do seem really thin. But hey, I remember buying it at the time. It was one of the earliest figures I got, and I can't remember. I've been trying to think about this recently. What was the first figure I actually did buy? And I think it was Luke, and then possibly Han and Chewie came straight afterwards. Maybe one of the droids, R2 or C3PO. I really can't remember, to be honest. But that was the original and what we call the small head Han. And then a little bit later, he did get released with this large head, which I think is not so good, to be honest. You know, the body is exactly the same. His arm is still sort of, you know, cocked, ready for action, ready for a fight. But the head, I don't think, is as good a sculpt, personally speaking. And I don't know why they changed it. Maybe the head is a little bit small, just a tiny bit, and it could have been improved a little bit. But you know, they've gone from almost one extreme to the other, haven't they? This one's much easier to find, the large head Han, I think, and obviously it was produced a lot longer. So the original carded Han Solo with the small head in America had 3 different card backs, and then it did actually get late released on an Empire card. I believe what happened is the retailers, if they had any stock left of the original Han, they could send their stock back and get the figures repackaged onto Empire cards. And I think that's why you find a few of these in America, at least, with the small head Han on an Empire Strikes Back card. So there were 3 different versions of the small head Han, and they obviously did the one for Palatoy, which is the one I had back in the day. And then for the large head Han, there's an astonishing 21 different Kenner American versions and 9 different ones for Palatoy. And amazingly, there's over 17 overseas versions for it. Now, I've only got the one carded figure for Han original, and that's my Tri-Logo one, so I'll just grab that now. So here he is. And this one isn't actually too bad a card, this one. I've had it quite some time. I don't remember exactly where I picked up this Tri-Logo one. But he's an all-round pretty nice card, and it's got a nice clear bubble as well. And got like a standard Tri-Logo back on it. Dated 1983. With the 3 languages and the blacked out Ewoks there. And it's very thin stock card on these Tri-Logos, but it's nice. It's got a little bit of sort of surface wear on the bubble, maybe from when it was in a case or from you know, on the shelf possibly, but apart from that, it's a real nice one. And yeah, a great figure, this one. There's a couple of variations, I believe, of the Tri-Logo, and this is the one with Han holding the gun with both hands rather than a single hand version. But cool, nice iconic figure. I mean, an absolute benchmark of any sort of vintage Star Wars collection. You're going to have your Han Solo, and the original one is, well, it's very nostalgic to me, and he was always the coolest sort of character, wasn't he, in that original film. Good stuff. So next up was Han in his Hoth outfit. So I thought this was really good, and a real cool figure when he got released. I thought the sort of bond between Han and Luke really solidified at the start of Empire Strikes Back, with Han saving Luke by shoving him inside the Tauntaun. Fantastic, really. I think the designers also got much better at their job. They spent a bit of time really finessing the character with all the cross hatching on the legs there. Really cool sort of character, this one. There's no sort of major variations with this particular one. It's just a decent all-round, super cool figure, really. Very, very common. I mean, when we used to see collections come in, there would always be the Hanhof character in there. And I suppose because it was such a major scene, wasn't it? You know, Han rescuing Luke at the start of Empire. It was sort of iconic, wasn't it, really? And of course, he's pictured, isn't he, on the box for the Tauntaun. And that was a real popular accessory as well back then, wasn't it, for the Hoth figures? Now, Hanhof had 13 different Kenner cards. It was first released on the Empire Strikes Back Wave 1, and there was 9 different versions in the end that were released in the UK on the various Palitoy labels. I have got one, which we'll get now, and it's a Kenner one. So, like a lot of the Kenner figures, the bubbles have yellowed now. Apparently this was due to a fire retardant that was put in these later Jedi figures, so sadly it looks a bit awful on this card. And also this card is it might be difficult to pick up on film, but it's actually really sort of washed out. So I think if I get a chance, this might be one that I actually swap out and upgrade for a better one. I'm currently still in the process of upgrading the last handful of my loose figures, and then I very much intend to upgrade my carded collection and pick up a few more sort of tri-logo ones as well. Because they're the ones I really, really like. But not to say it's not a bad figure. I mean, it must have been quite tricky to pick a picture of Han actually in action in his outfit. But there must have been some publicity stills that they could have picked one up with Han in charge, you know, and in his uniform. Interestingly, my Han has got sort of the loose one has got like a white face. The one in the card here seems to be much pinker. So whether that's, well, I don't know if that is a small variation or what, but I do see this on the Han Solo Hoths where they've got like a white and a sort of a more flesh-coloured face. But still, a nice little figure, really nicely designed, and one I certainly remember having as a kid. So next up we've got Han in his Bespin gear. So this was another figure which I thought, you know, the sculpt was probably about as good as you're ever going to get with the Han Solo figure. This one's a really nice one. Unfortunately, in my display case, in the last sort of 3 decades, it's caught a bit of sun, so the front of his trousers are faded compared to the back. It's okay though. It's a fairly reasonable figure to pick up as a replacement. It's not the end of the world, and I've got the gun as well. So I'm on the lookout for a really nice tight-armed version, and then I shall replace this one. But I'm only down to about 5 figures that I will either want to upgrade or replace, and then the collection is all back to being sort of pretty much A1 again. But even so, that doesn't take anything away from the fantastic sculpt here. I think it's really good. It's a great figure, and I love, you know, I really do love all the sort of the Bespin ones. I think they're fantastic. So this came out a tail end of Empire Strikes Back, Wave 3 in actual fact. And before the series was out, there was 10 different carded versions in America for Kenner, and there was 10 over here in the UK on the Palitoy cards. Mine is a Kenner one again, so I'll just go and grab that now. So yeah, this is my Kenner one. The card really isn't bad at all. It's just this yellow bubble, and it's funny, when I was going through my Kenner figures recently to find my Han Solo figures, not all of them have yellowed. I've got a few Jedi figures, Kenner ones, which are actually quite nice. They're still fairly clear, so I honestly don't know why one has been yellowed up and one hasn't, but hey, you know, that's the ravages of time. A normal 65 back card here, showing yep, a 65 on display there. Good stuff. 1983. Yeah, nice figure. Decent photo as well. Is that Han on the somewhere on the Falcon? I can't tell, possibly. But yeah, good stuff. So that's the first 3 lined up, ready for their photo shoot, and they do look really cool, I've got to say. They are really, really smart when they're sort of displayed in front of their original card backs. However, we got 2 more to have a look at. So next is Han in his trench coat from Return of the Jedi. So here he is. Great little figure. They've sort of beefed him up a little bit. So he's been sort of buffed up. I mean, underneath, and these often turned up when I had my shop back in the day, you'd really find the Han trench coat figure often without the actual trench coat. But I think the figure underneath is actually pretty cool. And like a nice face sculpt. So there is actually a variation. Well, there's a couple of variations. First of all, you can find this trench coat itself with the camouflage on the lapels or off the lapels. So my version here, and in fact on my carded one, it's off the lapels. But it does exist where the camouflage, sort of the brownie pattern, has gone onto the lapels as well, onto the collar of his trench coat. So that's something to look out for. Also, there's like what they call a soft and a detailed sculpt. So one of the sculpts of the faces, and this is not the, so this is the detailed sculpt, because if you look really, really close there, the detail on Han's face is really cool, and it is detailed, but there's a much sort of softer version of it, and so it's not one that I've ever seen or knew about until fairly recently. So I'll keep my eyes peeled for a loose, soft sculpt one if one was to come my way. But apart from that, I think he's really cool, and I like all the Endor sort of figures, and I think they do look really good. When you've got a few of them together, you can create that sort of Endor scene, and they start to look really cool then. But yeah, he's a pretty cool figure. Now I have the one carded version of it. So it was released as Return of the Jedi Wave 2, and there was 4 different Kenner versions, and there was 2 different Palitoy versions. And I've got a tri-logo one, so let's grab that now. So here is my lovely tri-logo version, and once again, coming back to these figures like 20 to 30 years after I got a lot of them, it's the tri-logo ones that have sort of stood the test of time and strike the right twang of nostalgia with me. And once again, I don't really remember where I got this one. It's probably part of a job lot that came my way back in the day. I really don't remember picking it up brand new, but this one is unpunched as well, so that's quite nice. And a great figure. Harrison Ford there in his prime. Amazing to think he was just 80 this week as I filmed this one. So get on Han, get on Harrison Ford. But yeah, I think they were really enjoying it. I mean, he was a big star back then and had his choice of roles. And yeah, fantastic. I think they did a very good job. I think Han Trenchcoat is a good figure. In fact, all of them I think are really good, bar perhaps the next one that we've got coming up. So, Han Carbonite, bring it on. So here we are, Han in his Carbonite outfit. Now, I think this Han is a bit pathetic because he's got a much bigger chest than he really needs to have. He never came with a weapon, and for some reason they've made his chest really massive. I don't know why. I honestly, what would be the reason? Was it something to do with this big hunk of Carbonite that came with the figure? Maybe he just, because he's designed, you see, to fit in just like that. And it sort of fits into the mould. And maybe maybe they moulded the Carbonite first and then they did the figure, and perhaps realised that they'd possibly overdone it. Don't know. Difficult to tell, isn't it? But I always felt, it was all right. You got a bit of value for money because you got the big hunk of Carbonite with it, and it was just a shame he never had a weapon. Because he does use one, doesn't he, in Jedi, when he's shooting the tentacle of the Sarlacc, isn't he? He does fire a gun, so they could have given him one. But I guess he wouldn't have been able to keep it in there. That's the only thing. There would have been anywhere to keep it, and they probably blew the budget, making him carbonated like that. But I'm glad they did it. Glad they didn't shy away from such an iconic piece, because Han and Carbonite really was quite something. And an integral part of Return of the Jedi, wasn't it? Now, obviously this was a very tail-end figure, so it was released just on 2 different cards. One was the Power of the Force in America with the coin, and over here in the UK and Europe we had the Tri-Logo version, and that's the version I've got. So let's go and grab my Tri-Logo card. So here it is. Definitely not one of my my better Tri-Logo figures. It has got a little bit of damage to the bubble, very, very minor, but it's still there. And obviously the card here is missing a little bit down the corner. It's even been touched up a little bit in antiquity, sadly. I believe I had maybe 2 or 3 of these through my hands, believe it or not, but they were all pretty hammered and they would been like remaindered. So I never really got round. It was always an expensive figure, even back in the day, and I never got round to replacing it with a really, really nice one. But beggars can't be choosers, and I probably will never replace this one now. But when it's in a nice GW acrylic case, it looks fantastic. It really, really displays well. So I'm not complaining, because it is ultimately quite a rarity. Yeah, just a shame. If you look, you know, the sculpt is a bit weird on him, and there's no way around it. But if you look at my carded one, look, there's a little black mark on the side of his chest there, and that is just something that happened at the manufacturing process. A splash of sort of black paint has ended up on him, on the side of his chest there. But there you go, a factory error, as it were, you know. But hey ho. But that is the last of the carded figures. So let's just have a look at them all in one shot. So there they all are, and I do think they look fantastic when they're all sort of lined up like that. Certainly it was an iconic figure, and it made Star Wars, you know, what it was, a success right from the off. He was a very, very likeable character, and appealed to a lot of perhaps slightly older kids as well as the youngsters. Good stuff. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed my little look through my vintage Han Solo Star Wars action figures. Certainly a character that has a lot of nostalgia for me, and one I very much enjoyed back in the day. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, do please give the video a thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage Star Wars content, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.